Souls is written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Watch Truth Talk News, Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. Have a little dead air there. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We should be back with Jonathan Gray, but I don't think he's here. Vinny, are you there?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess there was a misunderstanding. I mean, I know he wanted to come on 2 weeks ago, but we had Ralph Ellis and Janet on.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him, he said September 1st. But, I was real busy, like I told you before the
Well,
show.
you had the baby this week, yeah.
So I didn't really get to stay in touch and stay up on it. I figured he would have remembered, but, I don't know. If he's not going to come, then, another
You don't
time.
have? Can you call him?
He's in New Zealand, so I only did it through Skype.
That's
and
what I mean.
emails.
Through the Skype. Does he had Skype, right? Isn't he a Skype on your
Yeah,
Skype? Can you add
yeah,
him?
but you had it on. Back then I didn't have Skype, so I don't remember. That's why I figured maybe you had it, but
I'm
he
looking to see
must
if
have. I don't know.
I'm looking to see if it's there.
I do want to. I had one page open in his book that I wanted to read, and even though he's not here, I'll just do this for him. It's something I really liked, and see if you like this, Howie. You mind?
Go ahead.
Okay. It says, "Did God create evil?" A university professor challenged his students with the question, "Did God create everything that exists?" A student bravely replied, "Yes, he did." The professor answered, "If God created everything, then God created evil, since evil exists. And according to the principle that our work defines we are, then God that our work defines who we are, then God is evil." Another student raised his hand. He said, "Yes. May I ask you a question, sir?" "Of course," responded the professor. The student rose to his feet. "Professor," he asked, "does cold exist?" "What kind of question is this? Of course cold exists. Have you ever been cold?" The young man replied, "In fact, sir, cold does not exist. According to the laws of physics, what we consider cold is, in reality, just the absence of heat. We can only study something that has energy or transmits energy. We cannot study cold. Absolute zero, 460 degrees Fahrenheit, is the total absence of heat. All matter becomes inert and incapable of reaction at that temperature. Cold does not exist. We have created this word to describe how we feel if we have no heat." The student continued, "Professor, does darkness exist?" "Of course it does," replied the professor. The student looked again. "Once again you are wrong, sir. Darkness does not exist either. Darkness is in reality the absence of light. We can study light, but cannot study darkness. In fact, we can use Newton's prism to break white light into many colors and study the various wavelengths of each color. You cannot measure darkness. A simple ray of light can break into a world of darkness and illuminate it. How can you know how dark a certain space is? You measure the amount of light present. Isn't this correct? Darkness is a term used by man to describe what happens when there is no light present. Finally, the young man asked the professor, Sir, does evil exist? Now uncertain, the professor responded, Of course, as I have already said, we see it every day. It is in the daily example of man's inhumanity to man. It is the multitude of crime and violence everywhere in the world. These manifestations are nothing else but evil. All eyes were on the student as he replied, Evil does not exist, sir, or at least it does not exist in itself. Evil is simply the absence of God. It is just like darkness and cold, a word that man has created to describe the absence of God. God did not create evil. Evil is not like faith or love that exists just as do light and heat. Evil is the result of what happens when man does not have God's love present in his heart. It is like the cold that comes when there is no heat, or the darkness that comes when there is no light. The professor sat down stunned. The young student's name was Albert Einstein. And I don't know, I really like that. So, what did you think of that?
Wow, that's very heavy. Certainly made a lot of points that make sense. I was thinking along the lines of his logic was it's all logic. It's just using logic. Um,
Hmm.
but the one
And
thing,
scientifically speaking, you know.
yeah. But at the same time, what you also have to remember is that God gave us free will, so he didn't create evil. We created
Mhm.
evil. See, I have
Oh,
a
I understand
fundamental
what you're saying
I
there.
have a fundamental difference there with Einstein, but who am I to you
Well,
know to
Einstein,
uh
but the point that
to
I got out of it,
you
not that
know
you're wrong, but what he's saying is that evil will only come into a person if he doesn't have God in his life, is
I
the point, you
I
know.
think that's the point that was made, and that's true. And you need God in your life, because you need a moral balance. You need a focus on. Uh, you see, I see it so clearly, Vinny. How even in the last 25 years, how our society has decayed. I mean, the little girls, they're dressing them up, like, like
Yep.
the tweens, that are, it's all sexy, and it's like
Yeah.
it's all about, striving for images that most people are not going to be able to achieve, but they'll spend all this
Hmm.
money and effort and to try to look that way and keep the consumerism going. See, it's all about consumerism, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't buy all this stuff, they wouldn't be able to. They keep trying to manipulate you because you buy into it. It's like it's like being suckered by the same thing over and over again. I mean, when are you going to wake up and realize you're being suckered? You should purchase things you need, not things that make you feel good, which is the whole Bernays theory. If you need it, if you want it, it's one thing. You want a good guitar because it sounds better than another guitar. That has not only a reasonable understanding because you want to have a certain purpose, but you don't want to buy this guitar because it looks good or because it's expensive or because it's a certain make. That doesn't make any sense. That's showing off, because I have news for you. There are guitars, as a guitarist, that you could play, that an Ibanez guitar that sounds better than many Gibson guitars. I mean, depending on or Stratocaster, for example. I mean, it all depends upon um, the wood, and there's a lot of variables and what you like. But if you have to do what society says, you might as well just buy the most expensive guitar, the most expensive amplifier, and hope that you guys can play. But it's really not about that. It's about, you know, the elements that you need to do what you want to do, not to look good doing it. How's that for another rant?
No, that's good. The
You
only
don't
thing
want.
I wanted to add is you were starting it too where uh is also they don't want us to believe in anything like God or anything like that.
Yes,
That's why
exactly.
they
And
push
ourselves. They don't want
evolution
us to
so
believe in
hard.
ourselves. No, we need to buy stuff to feel good. See, you're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel good unless you fit in, and you're not going to fit in unless you get these sneakers and whatever else, that cost
Hmm.
$200. It's psychological, and it's setting you up for a lifetime of feeling that missingness. Like, what's missing from you? Well, it's the consumerism. It's this that they want you to consistently have to feel good to buy something to make you feel good, or something that's missing. And really, what's missing, like you said, Vinny, it's God. It's the understanding that you have. Look at most folks.
That
Uh,
this is special and that we're special,
right.
and that this isn't just some by chance, no meaning, nothing, nothing to see here. Just buy stuff, have fun, and buy. It's not like that. You
No.
know, there's so much. There's so much creation all around us, and they don't want us to believe in anything. They want you to be, think that you could be God. Uh,
Well,
think
they
that
do. That's the whole idea of you're your own God, and they want you to be that way. That's part of it. That's what
yeah,
that's what this whole plan is, to get you to have the lie that you are your own God. And meanwhile they're still controlling you. It's
yeah.
part of the New Age philosophy.
And then you got the satanic who basically take the story and make it like God's the bad guy and Lucifer's the good guy, and that he wanted to give man knowledge. So
Yeah, God
that's
wanted to keep
that's the Luciferian plan.
Yeah, that is the plan. That is, for those that are not aware. Yeah, that's true.
And you reminded me when you were talking about before, like the things they put on television for the mind control and to get these messages out there, and talking about not want making uh you know I I've said my comments. I've made many comments in my life about the church and the Vatican and things like that. But even though that there's bad things, there's good people involved. Even though there was a lot of bad that went on, there's a lot of good, and they turned it all into a joke. Uh, the music awards, they have that I'm trying to remember her name. I can't think of it right now. Um, the one of the black R&B singers comes out, calls herself Ronin, comes out with a priest, and they're doing exorcisms. You know, I'm saying this because it's all about making a joke to make the average person who believes in God to feel like he's an idiot, that he's not evolved yet. You're not part of the smart people that are new age thinking or like that. And to me, it's very obvious all over the movies and the propaganda that there's nothing. Don't believe in God. Don't there is no God. It's a joke, And I think a
Yeah,
lot
they
of
said that. I saw. It's funny. Recently saw a movie, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was recent. It was over this summer or recently. Saw a bunch of movies this year, and this one's. I think it was the movie The Gray Wolf, with the guy who works on an oil refinery line in
I don't know about it.
it's an interesting story, man. I'll take a 1 minute digression. It's like Liam Neeson is a sharpshooter that shoots wolves in Alaska for the Alaska pipeline workers, because these wolves seem to be a problem, So he shoots the wolves. That's
Uh,
his job, right? To keep, well, one of his jobs is to like keep the wolves off the workers while they're working. And when their shift is over and they're coming back, their plane crashes and they're now like with the wolves.
huh.
And it does get back down to this whole thing of that, they fighting a man against the elements and the survival of the fittest. I noticed that, and for anyone watching or listening as well, um, yes, check out the Gray Wolf. I think it's called the Gray Wolf. It was out this year, 2012, and it had Liam Neeson in it. And I don't know, it didn't do that well in the box office, I guess, but it's got a lot of these messages that Vinny and I talk about. And one of the
Uh,
messages was this big message about that there's no God, and uh, the question of faith and the question of God. And but I think they was giving very very many messages, New World Order messages, negative towards there being anything worth it. Um,
yep.
you know, um, and up to now we had everyone being coerced by God for the purposes of war. No one can deny this, right, Vinny? I mean, you have centuries of warfare, the Crusades, of course.
Definitely.
How can we deny
Number
that?
one reason for war.
Yes,
Number one reason.
religion and governments have killed more people than anyone. It's
Yep.
genocide. Yep. So you can't deny that now. So now the interesting thing is your belief system is in such a way, but now they're switching the whole agenda and they're taking the agenda the opposite way. And instead of the war for the right of religion, it's the war against religion.
Mm,
Um,
good
it's
point.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
They just flip the coin. And that
Because again, I look at almost like that Einstein quote, where
it's
again,
controlling society.
but if for people to give up hope and not believe in God, then if you take out God, whether real or not, I mean, if you really think that there's then that it's just by chance and there's no reason, then you really look at yourself no different than a rock or just something, like you're just, what's the point? And if you don't feel that there's anything special about yourself, then you obviously aren't going to have confidence or believe in yourself to do anything. You're going to just look at yourself as nothing. You're just, oh, I'm just here and whatever. And those
Or
people are
worse,
the
you think
ones
you'll
that are
never
easy to
be able to
control.
be anything.
Those are the
Or
ones that,
worse, you're
yeah,
going to feel right, Vinny, but it's worse because it's trying to make you feel like you're worthless, you're useless, and you don't have any skin on your bones. It's
yeah.
because
So then what are you going to stand for? What are you
any
going to
little
fight for if you
setback will
don't even
put you
think there's anything
right.
special about you? You
Right.
know, I remember even the Fritz show we did where I said to Fritz, no matter what anyone says, it's like believing in Jesus or God, and this, it gives you power. Whether it's real or not is besides the point. It's just the faith gives you power, and by eliminating the faith, whether real or wrong, or fictional or not, it's still the idea, the mindset that it gives you. It
Hmm.
gives you power,
Right.
and that's, I feel, one of the main reasons, because obviously they're religious people. I mean, they could say that they're not Christians, but they're religious people. I mean, they're more religious than I think than the average person. These are people that worry about every day.
Watch Truth Talk News Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com. Souls is written in stone. Cut through the matrix, awaken to the lies. Do not be hypnotized. We are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.